Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Jennifer Buehler. She is the incoming president of Allen. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with Allen, my first question to you, Jennifer, is tell people what Allen is and how it's a part of Ncte.
Allen stands for the Assembly on Literature for Adolescents of Ncte. It is the young adult literature home for English teachers, also for librarians, critics, and other YA advocates. So it's a place to go to find like-minded souls who love teens and teen books, and it's a place to be fortified year after year with new access to authors, books, and people who love to teach YA.
So talk a little bit about the Allen workshop, because that's after the Ncte convention, and I don't know if a lot of people know about the Allen workshop, and I think it's an awesome thing for those who love YA to come to. So talk a little bit about that.
It's the best kept secret at Ncte, and we want to change that. It's a 2-day extravaganza of books, authors, and reading love. So on Monday and Tuesday every year after Ncte before Thanksgiving, about 500 people come together to hear authors, publishers, and editors talk about what's being written and produced for teens today. Participants who come to the workshop get a book box that weighs about 45 pounds. It's filled with books that have been donated by publishers in support of authors who are on the program. So not only do you get to hear authors in the flesh, see them in the flesh, shake their hands, hug them, cry, be awed by them, you get to have books autographed. After authors speak, they go to the back of the room and there are signing lines, and you get to take home this incredible collection of free stuff. So it really does energize people. It feels like Christmas morning when people are opening those book boxes, and it's a place to just be refortified in your commitment to young adult literature and teen readers.
Yeah, wow. Okay. So one of the things that I love to advocate for about Allen with teachers is that I think it's the best bang for your buck, because the what is the registration? Is it
membership for Allen is only $30 to be a member of the organization. If you go to the Allen workshop, the registration I think costs $195. That includes an Allen membership, and it includes the book box, and it includes a subscription to the Allen Review, which is a journal that's produced 3 times a year that offers both scholarly writing about young adult literature and teacher-friendly descriptions of how YA is being taught and shared in classrooms and in out-of-school settings. And last but not least, an Allen membership comes with a subscription to an e-newsletter. So there's an electronic newsletter that also gets shared about 6 times a year. So it just is a way to feel connected to Allen, as well as getting great bang for your buck.
Yeah, because that box of books is way more than $195. So yeah, definitely. Okay, so obviously young adult literature is a passion of yours. Why does YA matter?
YA matters for so many reasons. First, it matters because it's literature that's written for teens and it's published for teens. So if we want to create readers and engage in conversations with kids about things that matter to them, why wouldn't we go first to young adult literature? Perfect place to begin. And young adult literature is also a place where some of the most innovative writing is being done for teenagers. I should say that differently. Young adult literature is where some of the most innovative writing is being done. Period.
Yeah.
Novels in verse, which are those books that tell a story all through the form of poetry. So it's a collection of poems that tells. That is a format that was born in young adult literature. The documentary novel, books that mix photographs, song lyrics, clips from speeches and newspapers with narrative text, that was born in young adult literature. So there's just a lot of innovation in the writing, and there's a lot of gutsiness in the storytelling. People who love YA will give lots of different answers to this question. So partly the answer might be that these books give kids a way to feel heard and seen. But these books also stretch kids intellectually and give them important, meaty, challenging questions to think about, ethical considerations to explore. They connect kids to worlds of politics and social justice and social change. They can school kids on nonfiction topics because there's a lot of nonfiction writing and research that's being done for teens. So new research. The story of Claudette Colvin, who was a civil rights pioneer, that story had never been told before. She preceded Rosa Parks in refusing to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery. That was a book written and published for teens. So there's a lot happening in young adult literature, and people who haven't read it just don't know how rich the field is.
And you're a professor, so you live in the world of academia. So
Yes.
the fact that you're spreading this message is so important, because I think that it can be sort of looked down on in academia, and that sort of trickles down into secondary and middle schools.
That's an excellent point. There is that trickle down. And so I teach a class in young adult literature. It's a class that fills every fall. There's sometimes a waiting list for students who want to take this class. And I'm honored by that. It's the books. College students want to read these books, just like high school students do. College students come to these books and say, wow, I haven't read such a good story in a long time, or I haven't finished a book in a long time. Because I've been reading my homework. I've been reading textbooks and articles. So I see students ages 19 to 21 get re-inspired as readers. And I come to that class saying this is partly literary work, but it's partly also advocacy work. We read these books in order to share them. You know, I tell those college students, let's read these books and think about how to spread the word and pass along this knowledge to other groups outside of this class, whether they be teachers, parents, teenagers, the kid who lives next door to you when you go home for break, your little sister, your little brother. So we try to use that book experience and that book knowledge for real world purposes.
And you just moved, I mean, you already answered my next question, which was the advocacy question, and seeing how is young adult literature part of the advocacy message of Ncte, and you already answered that. So,
but it's a great question, and I think advocating for young adult literature is actually an act of advocating for teenagers who are a grossly disrespected population. You know, teenagers are really not valued in our culture. Their concerns are not respected in our culture far too often. And I think if we value these books, we're sending a message to teenagers that we value them. We see them, we take them seriously, and we want to engage with them in conversations about things that matter
to them. You know, because they, as you said, they just want to be heard.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for teachers who seem daunted and intimidated by the task of challenging the canon in their own schools, especially when districts spend money on 30 copies, a class set of Romeo and Juliet or the Scarlet Letter? What advice do you give to that teacher?
So I think teachers need to give themselves permission in several different categories. Teachers need to give themselves permission to feel like they can start small, that they can begin to bring young adult literature into their classroom in incremental ways. It might be that they find one short story written by a young adult author that they photocopy and that they use as a complement to an existing curricular text. They might ask their administrator or their department chair to read one book with them in order to start spreading the word about what these books contain and search for allies and enlist support from people that can make change happen. It doesn't have to be a wholesale transformation of the classroom where we scuttle the classics and replace them with young adult literature. That's actually not a good solution. But teachers need to feel like if they begin to educate themselves and fortify themselves with knowledge and resources, that they can use that to proactively advocate for these books and start to enlist others to believe in this cause. And so a couple strategies there. Allen publishes the Allen Review. So that's scholarly and teacher-friendly print resource material that can be used to highlight the power and possibility of these books. So that's a place to turn. And I like to direct teachers to book award lists, because when they come to their school with a suggestion of a title that's worth looking at, that they believe in, and it's already been vetted by an award committee and honored by an award committee or multiple ones, that's another source of authority that can help further kind of seal the deal about the usefulness of these things and the quality of them.
Yeah.
So, but starting small, I think, can make it feel less daunting.
I think too, the idea of YA can be a gateway to the classics. You know, you were talking about we shouldn't throw away the classics, but there are those YA novels that kids read and they intellectualize on them, and that can lead them to more classic literature.
It can, and that's been one of the most frequent rationales for including young adult literature in the classroom. So Adolescent Literature as a Complement to the Classics was a series that Joan Kaywell edited in the 90s that made that case and provided lots of examples of how YA can be a bridge to the classics. From Hinton to Hamlet is another publication authored by Sarah Hertz and Don Gallo that, again, illustrated lots of different ways to pair YA with the classics. But I'd like to add in the thought that that's not the only way to think about these books. It can be not just YA as a bridge to the classics, but YA and the classics and back to YA. And think about how all these books can be in dialogue with one another, where it's not a hierarchical progression, but rather it's a smorgasbord, and it's kind of a gathering of texts that are designed to talk to each other.
I love
where
that.
YA is not lower than the others, but it's another kind of text and it's another voice in the classroom.
That's powerful. So, wow, lots to think about. And so, hopefully next year, if you had never heard of Allen until this moment right now, you look that up and possibly become a member. So thank you.
Please explore the world of YA. You'll be delighted at what you find and
Thank you.
energized. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.